Temporary temporary existence in the middle way.
Okay, I'll leave it here.
So I can come back to what
You can.
My paper is to come back to what you were.
Okay.
doing.
So once again, we're starting. We're starting the meeting now. All right.
Okay.
All right. Does everybody understand and remember what we were reading was from the lifespan chapter of the lecture, The Heart of the Lotus Sutra, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now, and the part that made me come to this, why are we reading this Gosho? Do you remember why I said I wanted to read this Gosho? Why am I reading this Gosho?
Why you are reading this Gosho?
Do you remember what I told you last week? Why I decided I wanted to read this Gosho to you?
We must understand the secret of the dawn.
Yeah, we must understand the nature of this eternal Buddha. Okay? That's mentioned as the thus come one Myoho-Renge-Kyo here.
The original
Okay, the original identity of all Buddhas. Okay, because it's really, that's what's being explained here. Okay, my concern was that when I talk about there's no separation between your life and the life of Nichiren, that life exists within you, the life of the eternal Buddha exists within you. I was concerned that you would think of that in the same way like a supernatural entity or more powerful influence, the thing that made you kind of a thing. Like God. No, in Christianity, the same thing. They believe that God created you, God exists within all things, right? This is the normal understanding of that kind of a concept. Okay, the understanding that comes from the Daishonin's teaching is completely different. Okay, and that's why I wanted to qualify. Again, it comes from the concept of Ichinen Sanzen, that at each indivisible moment, okay, not a second, not a microsecond, it's a moment. Okay, at each individual moment, everything that exists in the universe contains the entire universe within it, and the entire universe includes that singular thing. Right?
No matter what.
Okay, so no matter what it is. So because why is that? Because what is the original state?
The original state.
There's no beginning, there's no end.
Right, Kuon. But what is that original state actually? Myoho-Renge-Kyo. And what is that original state of Myoho-Renge-Kyo? The ninth consciousness. Okay? Now, earlier in this conversation this evening, these two were having a private conversation. I won't get into their private conversation. But the subject came up of religion and science. Okay? Okay. Now, when we talk about religion, okay, we're talking broadly about things that are what? Normally opinions of spirituality, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Supernaturality, okay? Because they deal normally with origins, things that are mysteries, things that cannot yet be proven, okay? That's their religions, all right? What is science?
Something you can
Truth.
You can.
Science is of physical laws that have been validated. When did religion start?
Way back.
Way back, as far back as mankind goes, there's been religious, senses. So whether it was the sun, the moon, whatever.
It's just an explanation.
Explanations,
okay?
exactly. And science has been the actual physical measurement. It's measurable. Science began with Galileo and the telescope, which showed that the sun doesn't revolve around the Earth. That the Earth isn't the center of the universe. And then came Sir Isaac Newton and the apple and the beginning of physical laws. That's the beginning of science. Okay? So all this time you've had this two words, science and religion. But science was something that's very new. Religion something very old.
Right.
Okay? When we talk about religion in Nichiren, in Soka Gakkai language, quite often President Keita will talk about religion. President Toda talked about this religion. Okay? But when we really talk about it from the perspective of the Daishonin's teachings, we talk about this teaching.
Right.
Don't we?
Right.
We really don't talk about it so much from the religious aspect. It becomes your religion.
Right.
But it is the teaching that is the
Yes.
basis. It's not a religious characteristic of explaining all the unknown things. As a matter of fact, what's the difference between this teaching and other teachings? There are many teachings, right?
Right.
What's the difference between this teaching, Nichiren's teaching, and other teachings?
We are the same as Nietzsche.
No, we have basis to teach. They don't.
Huh?
What did you say?
That's actually the point. That's actually the point. This is the true teaching, and everything else is the teaching of delusion. That's why even the Buddhas of Buddhism that teach this anything other than Nichiren Buddhism. What are the two main streams of Buddhism according to Nichiren Buddhism? Are they Mahayana and Hinayana? No. They're the Buddhism of the harvest and the Buddhism of the sowing. The Buddhism of Shakyamuni and the Buddhism of Nichiren. Okay? So, until the latter day of the law, was there anything that could really be called the true religion? Or true teaching? No, there wasn't actually, because even in the latter day, even in the former and the middle day of the law, okay, those was not true, right? They were still expedient means. They would only get you to Myoho-Renge-Kyo. Was Myoho-Renge-Kyo revealed in the former or the middle day of the law? No. Was the true teaching revealed in the former and the middle of the day? No. Okay, not from the perspective of the latter day, whereby all people can attain enlightenment. All right? So the point was, out of all of this conversation, was to again resurrect, before we start reading, what is the correct understanding of the entity of the law, of the original Buddha, okay, of the Myoho-Renge-Kyo, thus come one. All right? Everybody understands there is a difference between the original Buddha and the eternal Buddha. Original Buddha is the original teacher. The sage at the beginning of the Kalpa of Continuance that formed a relationship with the law. The law was his teacher. He's perceived the true nature of all phenomena and is the teacher of all other Buddhas. This is the Myoho-Renge-Kyo, thus come one. But that Myoho-Renge-Kyo, thus come one is no different than any of us. Right? Thereby, once the Myoho-Renge-Kyo, thus come one, we all become Myoho-Renge-Kyo, thus come one. Do you follow? Now, I'm going to go to page 84 and begin reading, actually page 83, that last little bit. I'm going to reread a little bit of what we read last week from volume 2 of the Doctrine of 3,000 Realms in a Single Moment of Life, page 83, the very last paragraph, in volume 2. Everybody with me? Okay. So he says, and he's just been discussing all these doctrines of the three bodies and the three virtues and the and he says, though the doctrines down here he goes, though the doctrines involved here are many, may come down simply to the three truths. And as I said last week, what's the significance of the three truths? These three truths may be called the thus come one of the three bodies, or the ultimate entity of the three virtues, the true Buddha. Correct?
Dharma, Buddha, wisdom, and
Right, which is the true
virtues.
Buddha. Which is the true Buddha. Right? Okay. So everybody understands where I'm at so far, right? The first three of the 10 factors are the thus come one of original enlightenment. Okay? Original enlightenment is Myoho-Renge-Kyo. It's the ninth consciousness. Okay? You understand? All right. The first three of the 10 factors are the thus come one of original enlightenment. What does that thereby say then?
The first what?
The first three of the 10 factors are the thus come one of original enlightenment.
Three factor.
Okay. So Nyoze, yeah. Nyoze, so Nyoze, Sho, Nyoze, Tai.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know that I can take on you too. I'm saying, what the first three of the 10 factors are the thus come one of original enlightenment. What is that saying?
the thus come
Your
one of
appearance?
original enlightenment equals what?
Equals what?
This is the
That's
question.
what I'm asking.
The thus come one of original enlightenment
The three bodies.
No, that's not where I'm coming.
The eternal.
Okay, no. Okay,
Okay, we are not going to
again.
Getting
Wait.
your point.
The first three of the 10 factors are the thus come one of original enlightenment, okay? So the first three factors are appearance, nature, and entity, correct? Because appearance, physical form, nature, sentience creates a temporary gathering of the 5 components, right? Okay, so what governs that temporary gathering of the 5 components? That's now a manifest entity, right?
Yeah.
Entity. It's now an entity.
Yeah.
All right?
Yep.
The seven remaining factors are karmic, right?
Okay.
They're not form. Okay, so the first 3 of the 10 factors are the thus come one of original enlightenment says that all temporary gatherings of the 5 components, all entities are the thus come one of original enlightenment. They're all Buddhas. Okay?
Right?
Everybody.
Right.
All right. So, these combine with the remaining 7 factors to form a single entity that is without dualism or distinction, which means it's not different than any other temporary gathering of the 5 components.
Right.
From the standpoint of appearance, nature, and entity. Entity. From the
Okay.
standpoint of entity.
Each individual.
Okay, what it is no different than everything else. What is termed the beginning is the manifested Buddha nature, and what is termed the end is the Buddhahood that has not yet been manifested. That is the state of the 9 worlds. The term consistency indicates that the thus come one of the ultimate stage of perfect enlightenment, and we ordinary mortals in the stage of being a Buddha in theory are without any distinction. Everybody understands that, right?
Right.
This is called consistency, or the great wisdom of the Lotus Sutra that sees the equality of all beings. Right? That was a preface from last week. He says it again now, because it's almost two parts. You got that first part.
Okay.
The first 3 of the 10 factors represent the thus come one of original enlightenment. When one has attained an understanding of the thus come one of original enlightenment, then one is a Buddha of perfect enlightenment. Now, what does that mean? When one has attained an understanding of the thus come one of original enlightenment, what is that saying? If you have an understanding of the thus come one of original enlightenment, in the previous paragraph he just clarified who is the thus come one of original enlightenment.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Right.
So when you realize that you yourself are the Buddha and that all others are as well,
Yeah.
that's when you become the Buddha.
Right.
Okay, that's what that's saying. When one has attained an understanding of the thus come one of original enlightenment, the true identity, the true nature of all people, of all living things.
Right.
Okay? Then one is a Buddha of perfect enlightenment.
Right.
Right? Because now you perceive your own Buddha nature. You don't perceive yourself as a bodhisattva of the earth. You perceive yourself as a Buddha.
Right.
Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the difference between number 5 and number 6. Okay, in stages of practice, as in the OTT chapter 16.1. You with me?
Yes.
And one who is the embodiment of the thus come one of original enlightenment, which is somebody that understands and perceives the true nature of their life and the lives of others, thus becomes the father and mother of this Buddha of perfect enlightenment. Why? Because your life incubated that aspect of your life until it came forth and manifested itself. Do you follow? So your 9-world existence as a common mortal is what ultimately always gives rise to the 10th world existence, the 10th world aspect that is always there of enlightenment. Do you understand? That's the eternal 10 worlds. Eternal 9 worlds always include the eternal 10th world. The eternal 10th world always includes the other 9. There's no such place as a separate Buddha land. That's okay. It's only Sahe worlds that are 9 world places, except for those people that realize the truth, which makes it the manifesting of the 10th world.
Yes.
Okay, everybody's with me then,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
All right. So, and one who is the embodiment of the thus come one of original enlightenment, thus becomes the father because you come to this realization that equals your Buddhahood, right?
Right.
Which equates to the birth of your Buddhahood, quote unquote, is the
Right.
metaphoric
Right.
context. Of perfect enlightenment, and the Buddha is the child that one gives birth to. Everybody understands that concept. It's always that way. Always that way. Always that way. Okay?
Okay.
Thus, the first volume of Great Concentration and Insight says, concentration is none other than the mother of the Buddha, and insight is none other than the father of the Buddha. Why does it say that? Because this writing, Great Concentration and Insight, was written during the middle day of the law, right? And is it's a meditative process, right? And as we know from the first paragraph, what is its significance? To allow one to perceive the truth of the middle way. Okay? To understand the three truths. Okay, do you understand where I'm going with this? All right, so he's saying that this meditative process then would have been the means by which that person was able to perceive the truth of the middle way, which is as close as they can get. That's Buddhahood in the middle day of the law. Okay? Everybody's with me?
Yes.
But we're in the latter day of the law. That doesn't apply to us. All right? So now he says, suppose, as an example, that there are 10 persons, all of whom have treasures piled up in their respective storehouses, but being unaware that they have such treasures in their storehouses, they are on the point of starving to death or dying of the cold. Among these 10, however, there is one clever person who awakens to the true situation. The other 9 are utterly unable to do so, and must be enlightened by the clever person, who is exactly the same as them. He's just clever. He's not better than them. He's not different than them. He makes them equal to himself by enlightening them on how to eat, how to put food in their mouths, how to utilize the treasure of their life that already exists. All right? The first volume of Annotations on Great Concentration and Insight, who would that be? What would that be? Nope.
Great concentration.
You didn't pay attention closely to what I said. I said the first volume of the Annotations on the Great Concentration and Insight. Annotations on Great...
Annotation.
It's always
Okay.
Myolo.
Myolo.
When it's
Okay.
annotations, it's always Myolo.
Okay.
Okay? Annotations on Great Concentration and Insight states, the two words concentration and insight represent the entity that is to perceived by one who hears the teachings. What is that entity? The entity of the Buddha nature that exists within your life inherently. Okay? What brings that about?
The Buddha nature.
The process of seeking Buddhahood. There's no practice, no Buddhahood. No pursuit, no Buddhahood. I don't care if you're naturally Buddha. You don't do shit, you don't get shit. It's cause and effect.
Yes.
Okay? Do you understand?
Yes.
Right.
There's always a father and a mother process here.
Okay.
Makes sense, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so the two words concentration and insight, action, represents the entity that is to be perceived by one who hears the teachings. Hears the teachings, not meditates on the teachings. Doesn't say who meditates on the teachings, even though he's talking about great concentration and insight, right? Do you follow? There's a difference. One who fails to hear the teachings will not understand the true meaning of consistency from beginning to end, or the great equality of all things. That's what consistency from beginning to end is. The great equality of all things. All right? The Myoho-Renge-Kyo, inherent in all things. The most singular building block of all things, the Myoho-Renge-Kyo. Okay? The child is often superior in many ways to the parent. Thus, Chunghua's treatment, this is a great analogy. Thus, Chunghua's treatment has treated his father with great respect, though the latter was stubborn and hard-headed, and so became known as a man of worth. Louis Pang, the governor of Pei, even after he became emperor, continued to pay obeisance to his father and treat him with great respect. The father who was thus the father who was thus respected was not the one worthy to be called the ruler. Rather, it was the son who paid that respect. Get it? Who deserved to be looked up to as the ruler. Do you follow? You follow the analogy that he's making and using that historical context to what he's trying to convey to you here? In this teaching of this Gosho? All right. Everybody is with me, clearly. All right? In like manner, though the Buddha is the offspring, 9 worlds precede the 10th world becoming manifest. It is he who gains enlightenment because he is wise, while ordinary mortals, although they are parents, are ignorant and foolish and have not yet gained enlightenment. Everybody understands? Because if they're ordinary mortals still, they haven't attained that understanding yet. Okay? People who do not understand the principle involved speak ill of such statements, insisting that they amount to trampling on the head of the Buddha Varashana. But this is a gross error. In other words, to utilize this example of we of this present 9 worlds give birth to the 10th world Buddha that exists in our life. They're saying that's to be disrespectful to the Buddhas, that we're already all provisional. There are all these, like deities that are outside of us. Therefore, they're not true. They don't exist. But others that don't perceive that still follow the provisional teachings are going to say, oh, that's a terrible thing to say. But the Daishonin is saying, no, it's not. He's saying with regard to the threefold contemplation in a single mind, there are 3 kinds of ways to do it. There's threefold contemplation that is carried out in successive stages, and threefold contemplation that does not involve stages, but I will not go into that in detail. When one has thoroughly mastered this threefold contemplation, which is the purpose of which is to... What is the purpose of threefold contemplation in a single mind, as taught in great concentration and insight, as taught at the end of after his 57th year by Tentai, and not revealed until after his death by Chang'an?
Lotus Sutra.
No. What is the purpose? Because this is the teaching of the middle day of the law. What is the purpose? That's the teaching that all that came from. He read the Lotus Sutra. He came up with this meditative practice that's expounded in great concentration and insight. This called threefold contemplation in a single mind. What is the purpose? I'm asking you this again and again so you'll know, so you'll remember.
To announce?
Nope. What is the purpose of the meditative practice of threefold contemplation of a single mind? Is to perceive the truth of the middle way. To perceive not non-substantiality, not temporary existence, true identity. True identity. The truth. All things are the Buddha. This is the truth of the middle way, is it not? Yes. Yes. Okay, so he's saying, when one has thoroughly mastered this threefold contemplation, one realizes that, as the Flower Garland Sutra says, in the threefold world there is only this single mind. What is this only this single mind that he's kind of alluding to there? Myoho-Renge-Kyo.
Yes.
All right? That's the correct perception of the middle way. The correct perception of the middle way is the 9th consciousness. The 9th consciousness is Myoho-Renge-Kyo. Now, we're in the latter day of the law. Do we meditate our ass off to come to this conclusion? No. That's what we're going to get to now. He says, Tentai has stated, the various waters enter the sea. What's that analogy mean? That the law that everything else is a teaching of is all united in the perfection of that law. He says the various waters enter the sea. That is the Buddha. We ourselves and all other living beings are in our essential nature identical and without distinctions. Where would that be and what is that? Kuan, 9th consciousness. Do you understand?
Okay.
Right? This is the great wisdom of equality. This is the teaching of Nichiren Daishonin. This teaching doesn't exist anywhere else. It's derived from what the underlying teaching of the Lotus Sutra. But this teaching for the latter day doesn't exist in those 28 chapters. Do you follow? They exist in the Gosho, the clarification of the truth. All right? Is the 28 chapters as not transcribed, translated by Kumarajiva the truth? No.
No.
No. No. No. It's an expedient means. Right?
Yep.
Okay. So, no expedient means is the truth, although an expedient means can contain aspects of the truth. The various waters enter the sea, that is, the Buddha, we ourselves and all other living beings are in our essential nature, ninth consciousness, identical and without distinctions. This is the great wisdom of equality. The term equality may be taken to mean universal and or all-inclusive. Where's the only place that's all-inclusive? The ninth consciousness, because it includes the realm of phenomena and non-substantiality. Okay? These doctrines of threefold contemplation in a single mind and 3,000 realms in a single moment of life are not found in any of the other sutras other than the Lotus Sutra. Okay? And they're not found on the surface of the Lotus Sutra. Okay? Therefore, if one does not encounter the Lotus Sutra, how can one possibly attain Buddhahood? So he's saying again, without encountering this teaching, you can never attain this enlightenment that he's speaking of, that pertains to original enlightenment, only acquired enlightenment. All right. The other sutras. Everybody with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. The other sutras explain the existence of 6 worlds, the 8 worlds, or the 10 worlds, but they do not make clear the mutual possession of these various worlds. But when, through the Lotus Sutra, we meditate moment by moment on the meaning of the threefold contemplation in a single mind and the principle of 3,000 realms in a single moment of life, then we come to realize that we ourselves are the thus come ones of original enlightenment. Then the clouds of ignorance part and the moon of the essential nature of phenomena shines forth. What is the moon of the essential nature of phenomena? Your original state. Okay? We wake from dreams. In other words, our true Buddha nature. The one that perceives ourselves as Buddha. Not theoretical Buddha nature. Not the one in theory. The one where it clicks and it never goes back. All right? We wake from dreams of delusion. We wake from the dream realm of the 9 worlds and enter the waking state of the 10th world. Even though we still exist in the 9 worlds. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. We wake from dreams of delusion and the round moon of original enlightenment is seen in all its brilliance. What is the round moon of original enlightenment seen in all its brilliance? The truth that we are the Buddha and so is everything else. All right? We see that this fleshy form received in birth from our parents, this body bound by earthly desires, imperfect, is none other than the thus come one who has existed always and is ever abiding. Okay? This ever abiding. Yeah, Scott's sleeping. This is, you're going to attain enlightenment still. This is what is called the attainment of Buddhahood in one's present form. Right? That realization. Okay, so he's saying it again here in no uncertain terms. This is what is called the attainment of Buddhahood in one's present form. The realization that earthly desires are none other than enlightenment, and that the sufferings of birth and death are none other than nirvana. Earthly desires are none other than enlightenment. Why? Because earthly desires are the firewood that propels us in practice of the 9 worlds while we're still in the 9 worlds till we finally perceive that 10th world that's always been there anyhow. Okay? And the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana. Why? Because life is the only time we can really experience any of this.
Yep.
Okay? In a manifest state. That's so the sufferings are actually a great joy, because it's only by virtue of being alive. Sufferings come with life. That's part of the deal. Okay? And therefore, we attain nirvana. The truth, the understanding of the truth of our life.
Yes.
Only because we went through the sufferings of birth and death. Only because we popped up as a temporary gathering of the 5 components. Everybody's with me?
Yes.
All right. All makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
All right? It's like a beautiful, round. That's why, again, when we get into true religion, is the truth. So how can the truth and science be separate? They're not.
Okay.
Okay? When you're talking about the truth, there is no difference between science.
It
and
has to make
religion.
sense.
But it's not about make sense.
No,
it's
The truth.
it's the truth.
Yes.
It's not. Don't give a shit about making sense. Of course, the truth
It
will
does,
make sense.
right.
But my point is that the truth and science are identical. Actually, the thing about Nichiren's teaching and the teaching that he perceives and embellishes is in the Gosho is actually proven by modern science. It didn't have a basis of proof until modern science provided that proof. So it's cool. Modern science, boson, the Higgs boson, the God particle, proved Myoho-Renge-Kyo.
Yes.
Frankly speaking, it didn't prove Christianity.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
Steve Hopkins.
Exactly,
Yes,
exactly,
yes,
exactly.
right.
The farther they go, again, 200 years ago, they thought the cell was the smallest thing there was. Okay? Then they found out the cell has nuclei. Then they found out that there was such a thing as molecules. Then they found out there was such a thing as atoms. Then they found out, oh, that's the smallest thing. Oh, no, there's subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons. Those are the smallest things. Oh, no, those aren't the smallest things. Will we ever get to the smallest thing? I don't know.
Probably not.
So far, science has said, no, you won't. You're only limited.
Yeah, to what you're capable
That's
of.
why we have faith. Because science can only take us so far.
Right.
Yes.
Okay? That's where religion and science become inseparable. Religion is the extension of the practical truth that science has already validated. Why can we believe in non-substantiality? Because it exists in modern science in subatomic particles. I was going to look it up before so that they go into Ku and out of Ku. They go into existence and out of existence. They pop in and out, just exactly as it's theorized in the Lotus Sutra. No separation. How? This is my point.
Yeah,
Okay.
I understand.
Okay. Okay.
But most of it is totally different.
Exactly. Chris, this is the only if it's the truth.
Yeah.
When we talk about religion, we're talking about a very broad thing. But when we talk about the true teaching, this is the whole idea, the concept of being life and death in the realm of Buddhahood. Every lifetime when you emerge as a temporary gathering of the 5 components, you always meet the correct teacher, the correct teaching. You always give birth as the father and mother of the 9 worlds to the baby of Buddha of the 10th. Each lifetime. You never go back. All right? We see, I'll go to the last sentence. We see that this fleshy form received in birth from our parents, bottom of page 85, first column, is this body bound by earthly desires is none other than the thus come one who has existed always and is ever abiding. What does ever abiding mean? Always exists, never doesn't exist. Ever abiding means eternal in both directions. In both directions. This is what is called the attainment of Buddhahood in one's present form, the realization that earthly desires are none other than enlightenment, and the sufferings of birth and death are none other than nirvana. At this time, when we gaze at the phenomenal world, we see that all things conform to the single principle of the middle way, and that the Buddha and living beings are one. This is what Tiantai means when he writes in his commentary There is not one color or one fragrance that is not the middle way. All things in their truth are the middle way. Okay? At this time, we see that in this, pardon me, baby.
It's okay, it's okay.
At this time, we see that all the worlds of the 10 directions are the pure land of tranquil light. What's that mean? What's the significance of that? He's saying at this time, just like he said at this time here, which is at this time. This is what when we have attained Buddhahood at this time. When we have attained a Buddhahood, that's what he's saying. That's the at this time he's talking about. Okay? At this time, in attaining Buddhahood, what will that then tell us? He says, we see that all the worlds of the 10 directions are the pure land of tranquil light. Where's the pure land of tranquil light? Here, right now. Yeah. So, okay? So there is no Buddha land.
No.
Yeah.
They're all Sahi worlds. All Buddha lands are Sahi worlds. Because they must contain the 9 worlds in order to have the 10th there.
Right.
All right?
Right.
Where does that wisdom come from, though? Only from this teaching that we're already going over. This is everybody's going, right. But it's an extrapolation of that perception of yourself as Buddha. Once that opens up, the correct understanding opens up for everything. Where then can one find the pure lands of Amida Buddha or Buddha Medicine Master or the Buddha Medicine Master? They're all Buddhas. Everybody's a Buddha there. No.
Right.
There is no place. This is what the Lotus Sutra means when it says, these phenomena are part of an abiding law. Again, unchanging. And the characteristics of the world are constantly abiding, constantly unchanging. Okay? We may wonder whether, without reciting the sutra, it is possible simply through the meditation of the mind ground alone to attain Buddhahood. The fact is that the meditation on 3,000 realms in a single moment of life and the meditation and the method of meditation known as threefold contemplation in a single mind are contained within the 5 characters of Myoho-Renge-Kyo. And these 5 characters, Myoho-Renge-Kyo, are also contained within the single life of each of us. Now, once again, this is one of those times where he's saying Myoho-Renge-Kyo. What he's really saying is Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo. All right, he's conforming for the sake of the people reading this that haven't had 700 years of indoctrination into Nichirenism. So he's taking it back a click so he doesn't confuse anybody. But he's really saying here, the fact is that the meditation on 3,000 realms in a single moment of life and the method of meditation known as threefold contemplation in a single mind are contained within the 5 or 7 characters of Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo. And these 5 or 7 characters of Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo are also contained within the single life of each of us. Thus, Tentai's commentary states, this Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo represents the depths of the secret storehouse of the original state. It can only be Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo.
Right.
Myoho-Renge-Kyo is not the secret storehouse of the original state. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. The depths of the secret storehouse of the original state, the enlightenment attained by the thus come ones of the 3 existences. If they're thus come ones, they only became thus come ones by virtue of the teaching of Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo. Right? Right. So, clarified. Even though he says Myoho-Renge-Kyo, he's saying Nam-Myoho-Renge-Kyo.
But this
When
is
we
also, why is it so difficult to grasp the concept? Because basically he's saying that this is it, and you only realize who you are, and this is the life that you can have a control over with. You are the Buddha yourself, or there's nothing outside, which is much easier to tell somebody that you go bum yourself, there's 18 virgins waiting for you in a heaven. I'm just saying, in comparison, normal people with religion...
Oh yeah, they would love to hear that there's no more work. Only
Yeah,
reward.
Yes.
But how could that make sense that you go blow up yourself, there's some more people waiting for, virgins waiting for you up there, than something like, you are as good as you can be.
Talk about religion.
Right.
Because of the influence of mother and father in all societies, in all circumstances.
Right.
Mother and father will have much to do with how you perceive
Right.
the truth.
Right.
And there are some pretty weird stories that mother and father taught kid, and kid still believes.
But but
Okay.
regardless of that, I'm saying how difficult it is to accept after study so many years.
Again, the only way, if you read
It's
this through
difficult
without
to
me
say-
going back and asking the questions and clarifying each point,
Yeah, you
point by
asked-
point by point, I guarantee you there's no damn way I don't care how smart you are. You wouldn't have gotten what I'm telling you right now. Fact. That doesn't make me smart or better. It's saying this is very, very complex. I've been studying this for 42 years.
Yeah, well, okay.
Okay, so
Then you start to ask
2-3
questions.
years into it, don't expect to already have it all
become
mastered.
more like I become more and more scared. Like
Don't become afraid.
Am I-
Again, it's all relative.
figure out it right. Or
Well, but that's
take
why
notes.
that's right. That's why you're sitting around the
Right.
table.
then I don't remember where to notice.
What started me on the path to be able to just to explain this?
Study.
The inability
Frustrating.
to
Debate or talk.
to
Debate, mostly.
to debate, because I didn't have a point of reference. I already knew the truth. I knew the truth from the first time my teachers told it to me. Boom, there was never a question. But to perceive how to argue it, how to shove it down people's throats,
Yeah,
how to be the Buddha. That takes a lot of effort and a lot of attention, because it's not technical, but it is technical. He's speaking. I have to keep clarifying what he's saying, because he's saying it in 5 different ways, the same thing. It's easy for you to think it's 4 or 5 different things if you're not
Yeah.
very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be easier to read Japanese?
No, absolutely not. It would be much more confusing to read it if you were reading Japanese, because that would give you the whole latitude of your opinion.
Oh.
You can ask,
Yeah, she's.
So-
more easy to understand this kind of thing.
Exactly, because
Yeah,
a
because-
professional
yeah, yeah.
translator has
Yeah.
already conveyed it with conciseness that is not there in its original state.
And our original religion is not Buddhism. It's animism. So very easy to understand. Christian or Buddhist or Muslim cannot understand this kind of thinking.
No. No.
Very, very difficult.
Yeah, very,
Difficult. I think very difficult.
very deep.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me
Something,
continue.
yes. It's another bubble. We are in another world.
Yeah, well,
Okay?
yeah, just another one for the continuum forever
We are-
and ever and ever. And these 5 characters, Myoho-Renge-Kyo, are also contained within the single life of each of us. Thus, Tentai's commentary, this Myoho-Renge-Kyo represents the depths of the secret storehouse of the original state, the enlightenment attained by the thus come ones of the 3 existences. When we chant this Nam-myoho-Renge-Kyo, the Buddha of original enlightenment present in our lives becomes manifest. Our bodies and minds are comparable to the storehouse of the teachings, and the word Myo is comparable to the seal that permits the opening of the storehouse. Again, our original state contains all the teachings, all the wisdom, right? We are the original Buddha, okay? Right? Our original state is the original Buddha. All right? Thus, the commentary of Tentai states, to reveal the depths of the secret storehouse, this is called Myo, or wonderful, which is to actually become the Buddha. To define the proper relationship between the provisional and the true. This is termed Ho, or the law. Okay, I'll start again. To reveal the depths of the secret storehouse, this is called Myo, or wonderful. To reveal the depths of the secret storehouse is the fact that you are the Buddha exactly as you are. Right? To define the proper relationship between provisional and true, which was then to perceive the law outside of you, or you are the entity of the mystic law, is called Ho. To point to the original enlightenment attained by the Buddha in the far distance past. Okay? This is compared to Rin, or lotus. Jiga Toku Burai, only it's each individual instead of Shakyamuni.
Right.
All right?
Right.
Is Rin, or lotus. Us muddy, common mortals are all actually bright, shining white lotus flowers, right? The Buddha. To clarify the perfect way of the non-duality of the provisional and true. This is called ge or blossom. All right? Simultaneity of cause and effect. The voice carries out the work of the Buddha, and this is called Kyo or Sutra. Because how do we attain enlightenment? Every time. True enlightenment. What is true enlightenment? True enlightenment is to become enlightened to the fact that we are the Buddha and Myoho-Renge-Kyo, right?
Yes.
Right.
How do we come to that truth? We
Somebody-
hear it.
Yeah.
The mentor-disciple relationship is essential. He doesn't ever mention it here, but that's what he's describing. Right?
Right.
We're taught
Yes.
the teaching. We don't meditate it up, make it up in our own head. All right? And the commentary also states, Myo is a term used to praise the law, which is beyond ordinary comprehension. Ordinary comprehension. The mind of faith can perceive this, can comprehend this. Myo is also the law of the 10 worlds and the 10 factors, the law that is both provisional and true. You do follow that, right? Everything that's provisional is still Myoho-Renge-Kyo also.
Yes.
It's just not being perceived correctly. All right? Chanting the Daimoku, or title. Is all of this making sense? Okay. Chanting the Daimoku, or title of the Lotus Sutra, is the same as carrying out meditation.
So chanting equals
You don't need to meditate shit!
meditation.
Meditation, not necessary as meditation. Of course you need to wrap yourself in deep thought in front of the Gohonzon while you're chanting Daimoku. That's how you meditate.
Yes.
All right? You speak to the true identity of your life, which is in the Gohonzon itself.
Yeah.
All right? Chanting the Daimoku, or title of the Lotus Sutra, is the same as carrying out meditation. Ignorant persons may find this difficult to believe. Ignorant persons. Ignorant persons. People that don't know any better will think, well, that's too easy. I'm not cool and smarter than everybody else if it's not meditative. See, that's meditation is a form of animality. It's to prove that you're greater than others, deeper and more capable than others. Ignorant persons may find this difficult to believe, but the second volume of Great Concentration and Insight by Tentai, in the latter day of the law, Great Concentration, it has a passage regarding recitation and silence, in which the word recitation refers to the recitation of the Lotus Sutra and silence to the practice of meditation or contemplation. And again, in the first volume of his Meaning of the Four Teachings, Tentai states, not only are such practices as recitation not a needless waste of effort, they are essential in grasping one and enabling one to grasp the principle involved. The great teacher Tentai was a reincarnation of the Bodhisattva Medicine King. And I'm going to finish this no matter what tonight. So, in his commentaries, he discussed the merits of reciting the sutra and those of meditation. To begin with, in his commentaries, he defined 4 guidelines for interpreting the words and phrases of the Lotus Sutra. This is the great teacher Tentai, right? Namely, causes and conditions, correlated teachings, theoretical and essential teachings, and observation of the mind. Everybody get it? All right. Causes and conditions, correlated teachings, theoretical and essential teachings, and an observation of the mind. But persons who do not understand the importance of these 4 types of interpretation are likely to apply only one type of interpretation, turning all their attention to the way in which the passage relates to the theoretical and essential teachings, or turning all their attention to how it relates to observation of the mind. In the Lotus Sutra, we find the doctrine directly stated, in the Lotus Sutra, we find the doctrine directly stated. We find it taught through similes. We find it taught through an explanation of causes and conditions in the past. In passages where the doctrine is directly stated, the original purpose for which the Buddhas appear in the world is set forth, the direct path by which all living beings can attain Buddhahood. And Daimoku represents the cause and condition that permits not only us, but all living beings to proceed directly to the place of enlightenment. Did everybody understand that?
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, Tentai, in the first volume of his Profound Meaning, states, all the little practices of goodness are gathered together, and one finds one's destination in the breadth and magnitude of the one vehicle. By breadth and magnitude, he means that all living beings, without exception, shall be guided to this goal. And how are they guided to this goal? Through their own actions. Do you follow? Did you see what it says? All the little practices of goodness all consolidate into the fortune to get there, to the correct teaching. Although this goal may be set forth as the original purpose for which one person, Shakyamuni, made his appearance in the world, yet all beings in the stage of near perfect enlightenment and below should look up to it and should have faith in this sutra, the lotus. For this sutra itself is the original purpose for which the Buddhas appear in the world. In other words, he's saying the Lotus Sutra is representative of Shakyamuni's story, but that story is your story as well. It's the story of every single living entity. Okay? Even though it's represented as Shakyamuni's story, it's not just Shakyamuni's story. He's saying the Zen school reveres the practice of meditation or observation of the mind as the original purpose for which the Buddhas appear in the world. When in fact it is only when in fact it is only one aspect of the four guidelines mentioned earlier. If meditation on 3,000 realms in a single moment of life and threefold contemplation in a single mind were in fact the heart and core of the Lotus Sutra, which they're not. What is the heart and core of the Lotus Sutra? Myoho-Renge-Kyo. So he's saying, if Ichinen Sanzen were the heart and core of the Lotus Sutra, or if understanding the truth of the middle way was the heart and core of the Lotus Sutra, then the 10 factors would have been mentioned in the Daimoku recital. Because the significance of each sutra is contained within the title, right? He says that's why it's given name. That's not in here. We've read it before. Okay? But of course the Daimoku is simply Myoho-Renge-Kyo. And so there is no need for any further discussion. The essence of the Lotus Sutra is Myoho-Renge-Kyo. The essence is contained within the title. He's saying if the essence was anything else, it would be contained in the title. But it's not. Do you follow? Do you follow what he's saying? He's saying if it was Ichinen Sanzen, then it would be contained. Ichinen Sanzen would be contained in the title. He's saying what's contained in the title is the essence of the sutra. Okay? What is the essence? What is the title of the Lotus Sutra? Myoho-Renge-Kyo. Myoho-Renge-Kyo is the essence of the sutra. Okay? He says, so there is no need for any further discussion as to what is the essence of the Lotus Sutra. How do we know what is the essence of the Lotus Sutra? By its name. All right?
Yes.
It's not about meditative practice the way the Zen people say. Moreover, the Zen school of our time speaks of itself as a separate transmission outside the sutras. But at the same time, it quotes the words of the Perfect Enlightenment Sutra, though it has supposedly discarded all such sutras. And since it has done so, it has no business trying to meddle with the Lotus Sutra, the Sutra of the true teaching. Those who are knowledgeable may practice both sutra recitation and meditation. Those uninformed may simply chant the Daimoku, for in doing so, they will be abiding by the principle of the sutra. All right? This Myoho-Renge-Kyo is so. In other words, again, you can attain Buddhahood just by chanting Nam Myoho-Renge-Kyo. You don't have to read or understand any of this.
Yes.
All right? This Myoho-Renge-Kyo is a term designating the essential nature of our minds. Or more generally speaking, the essential nature of the minds of all living beings. The 8-petaled white lotus blossom, the perfection of life. The words of the Buddha himself teach us this. From time without beginning until the present. From Kuan Ganjo until now. These bodies of ours have transmigrated through the realm of birth and death in a state of delusion as to the essential nature of the mind that is within these bodies. What is that essential nature? That it is already of the 10th world. That it's already the Buddha, right? We're unaware of that. But now we have encountered the Lotus Sutra and chant the Daimoku that represents the thus come one of original enlightenment, the Nam Myoho-Renge-Kyo thus come one, the original state, Nam Myoho-Renge-Kyo. Okay? Who possesses the 3 bodies in a single body, true Buddhahood, right? The thus come one becomes manifest in us. right? In our present existence, we achieve the inner realization and attainment of Buddhahood that is known as the attainment of Buddhahood in our present form. And what is that realization? That thereby manifests as attainment. That we are the Buddha exactly as we are. Already, right now. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And when we die, our bodies will emit a glow. That's what I was talking about with my dad. He glowed. He turned golden. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm like freaking every time. Because now I understand whenever I read this what they're talking about. I saw it in my dad. Now, why did my dad attain Buddhahood? Because he practiced with Soka Gakkai for 42 years? No, because his son did. The parent gave birth to the Buddha, but they're inseparable. Therefore, he lived and died in the realm of Buddhahood, just like your father, Catherine. Okay? Right. And when we die, our bodies will emit a glow. This is what is known as the outward directed activity associated with the attainment of Buddhahood. This is what the Lotus Sutra means when it says, then in a future existence they will be able to become Buddhas. Your dad, my dad. Okay? Take it to the bank. When, for the sake of brevity, one mentions only the Daimoku or title, the entire sutra is by implication included therein. That's Myoho. This means that one recitation of the Daimoku is equivalent to one recitation of the whole sutra. Myoho-Renge-Kyo. Wow, that's powerful, because you know how long it took us to read the whole Lotus Sutra. All right? When we chant Myoho-Renge-Kyo, when we chant Myoho-Renge-Kyo, the thus come one of the essential nature of our minds becomes manifest. The thus come one, the true nature, the Buddhahood of our life. And the sounds that reach the ears of others wipe out their offenses accumulated over countless asamyak kalpas. Did you gather that? We don't have to convince them to practice. It says, when we chant Myoho-Renge-Kyo, the thus come one of the essential nature of our minds, the original Buddha, the eternal Buddha, becomes manifest in our lives. And the sounds that reach the ears of others from us, the truth, wipe out their offenses. As I wrote to you, as I showed you, it says here, chapter 15, last week, the essential teaching. This passage is saying that if in a single moment of life we exhaust the pains and trials of millions of kalpas, that instant and after instant there will arise in us the three bodies, Buddha bodies, with which we are eternally endowed. Okay? When we give rise to the truth, when we perceive the truth that has always existed as the truth, it never leaves us again. All right? He says, when we chant Myoho-Renge-Kyo, the thus come one of the essential nature of our minds becomes manifest, and the sounds that reach the ears of the others wipe out their offenses accumulated over countless asamyak kalpas, what I just read. When they respond with joy, even for a moment, they attain Buddhahood in their present form. Why? Heard the name and the words of the truth. They're no longer Buddhas in theory. They are. We can say that they are Buddhas from that moment forward, because they will attain Buddhahood without fail. Nothing can reverse that. Okay? He's about to qualify that. Even though they may not believe this, the seed has been planted. It is maturing, and through it, they will invariably attain Buddhahood. The great teacher Myoho states, whether one accepts or rejects the teachings, they have entered one's ear, and one has thus established a bond with them. And then, though one may comply with them or go against them, in the end, one will because of this, be able to achieve liberation or attain enlightenment. And I, Nichiren, declare, and when he says, when I, Nichiren, declare, you should pay attention to what he's saying. And I, Nichiren, declare that these words, whether one accepts or rejects, though one may comply with them or go against them, constitute a passage worthy to be engraved on the heart. We're seed planters.
Yes.
We're not planted seeds. Who ever told you that before I did?
No.
No one. This is what the Lotus Sutra means when it says, if there are those who hear the law, then not one of them will fail to attain Buddhahood. Here it speaks of those who hear the law, but if it were referring to those who attain Buddhahood through meditation, it would say if there are those who meditate on the law. According to the interpretation of Tentai, the 10 factors are equivalent to the 10 worlds, because you won't find the 10 worlds in the second chapter of the Lotus Sutra. These 10 worlds arise in life at each moment, and thus are the living beings of the 10, and thus the living beings of the 10 worlds come forth. These 10 factors represent Myoho-Renge-Kyo. This Sahe world is a land in which one gains the way through the faculty of hearing. And as I indicated earlier, the great teacher Myoho states you should understand that one's life and its environment in a single moment encompass the 3,000 realms, the entire universe. It is clear then that the bodies of all living beings encompass the 100 worlds and 1,000 factors and the 3,000 realms, the entire universe. All right? Because Earth isn't the realm of the environment. The realm of the environment doesn't stop there. Right? The realm of the environment includes
Billions.
everything. Therefore, living beings whose ears are touched by the Daimoku are living beings who will gain merit. And when we speak of all living beings, this category of all living beings includes plants and trees, tiles and pebbles. When we say all living beings, we're talking about both sentient and insentient things. Regarding such plants and trees, the Diamond Scalpa Sutra states, a plant, a tree, a pebble, a speck of dust, this is Myoho he's quoting, each has the Buddha nature and each is endowed with the cause and effect and with the function to manifest the wisdom to realize its Buddha nature. And at the beginning of the Teacher of the Law chapter of the Lotus Sutra we read, you can leave anytime you want to, Mom.
I'm just trying to
Medicine King, do you see
comfortable.
in this great assembly the immeasurable number of heavenly beings, dragon kings, yakshas, Garudas, Gandharvas, Asuras, and Garudas, Kimnaras, Myoho-Rages, human and non-human beings, as well as monks and nuns? Upon these various kinds of beings who listen to one verse or one phrase of the Lotus Sutra of the wonderful law, and for a moment think of it with joy, I will bestow on all of them a prophecy that they will attain supreme perfect enlightenment. The words non-human beings refer to all those sentient beings outside the world of human beings who possess a mind. All the animals, everything else you can think of. The dinosaurs, I don't give a shit what you're talking about. All right? If it's not a rock, it doesn't have life. Okay? And if they are included, then how much more certain is it that the world of human beings are included? All right? If votaries of the Lotus Sutra carry out religious practices as the Sutra directs, then every one of them, without exception, will surely attain enlightenment within his or her present lifetime. To cite an analogy, if one plants the fields in spring and summer, then whether they be early or late, one is certain to reap a harvest within the year. Votaries of the Lotus Sutra fall into 3 categories: superior, middling, and inferior, depending upon their capacities, and yet all will invariably attain enlightenment within a single lifetime. Thus, the first volume of Profound Meaning states whether superior, middling, or inferior capacity, all will be given a prophecy of attainment of Buddhahood. Those who seek to attain Buddhahood solely through the contemplation of the mind are following a one-sided approach. And how much truer is this of those who practice the Zen style of seated meditation and speak of a separate transmission outside of the sutras? In the Teacher of the Law chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the Buddha states, Medicine King, though there may be many persons, those still living in the household and those who have left it, who practice the way of the Bodhisattva, if they are not willing to see, hear, read, recite, copy, embrace, and offer alms to this Lotus Sutra, then you should know that such persons are not yet practicing the Bodhisattva way in a fitting manner. But if there are those who will listen to this sutra, then they are capable of practicing the Bodhisattva way in a fitting manner. That's how you'll tell. They'll listen or they won't listen. It's not up to you. If the sutra meant that one could attain Buddhahood through contemplation of the mind alone, then why would it speak of seeing, hearing, reading, and reciting? The sutra makes hearing the sole basis of practice. This sutra makes hearing the sole basis of practice. What you're all doing at this table right now. In this sutra, the lotus, evil persons, women, persons of the two vehicles, and ichkantikas are not discriminated against. Thus the sutra says, all attain the Buddha way. This is also known as the great wisdom of equality. Once one has heard the sutra teachings that good and evil are not two, that correct and erroneous are as one, then one gains inner enlightenment and attains Buddhahood. Okay? There's everything in all 9 worlds are all pure.
Yes.
All right? Therefore, this is called the attainment of Buddhahood in one's present form. And because one gains enlightenment in a single lifetime, it is called the perfect enlightenment in one lifetime. Though there may be persons who are unaware of the principle involved, if they chant the Daimoku, they will experience the joy that can only be shared between Buddhas. Okay? Period. This is what the sutra means when it says, I will surely rejoice and so will the other Buddhas. In other words, you're guaranteed, even if you're 79 years old when you start, and you don't understand shit, it doesn't matter. As long as you started and you did it, that's all it takes. Though one may possess medicine blended from hundreds and thousands of ingredients, if one does not drink it, one's illness will never be cured. Though one may have riches in one's storehouse, if one does not know enough to open the storehouse, one may go hungry. And though one may have medicine in the breast of one's robe, if one does not know enough to drink it, one may die. And this is also true of the benefits of this Lotus Sutra, which are like those of the wish-granting jewel described in the 500 Disciples chapter. If, along with the contemplation of the mind, one recites the sutra, then of course one will gain these benefits. And even without practicing meditation, as I explained further, when one recites the words, this reality consists of Nyoze So, the appearance is thus. The word thus represents the principle of non-substantiality. Therefore, non-substantiality of the appearance, nature, power, influence, and so forth acquired by one's life through the karma of past existences, and of the 88 types of illusion of thought and 81 kinds of illusions of desire inherent in them. The non-substantiality of all things is the thus come one of the reward body. When one recites the words, this reality consists of Nyoze So, thus appearance, or appearance like this is the principle of temporary existence. Therefore, the appearance, nature, entity, power, and so forth acquired by one's life through the karma of past existences, along with the illusions innumerable as dust particles of sand inherent in them, all these are the thus come one of the manifested body. And when one recites the words of this reality consists of So Nyoze, appearance is thus, this is the principle of the middle way. Accordingly, the appearance, nature, and so forth acquired by one's life through karma, as all the illusions about the true nature of life inherent in them are swept away, are opened up as none other than the thus come one of the Dharma body. And when the passage on the 10 factors is given, these 3 different teachings, this represents the principle of the 3 bodies in a single body, the single body that comprises the 3 bodies. They're divided into 3. They are truly one. Though postulated as one, they are at the same time 3.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Understand?
Yep.
Okay, so that will allow you to understand more clearly what President Ikeda is saying without saying it. In other words, he's saying it, but he's not explaining it. He's not qualifying, go to this, go show, and he's not, because he would lose the continuity of what he's trying to say. That's why we talk about mentor, disciple. He's my mentor. I don't have to have him prove to me what he's saying is true.
Right.
Got it.
He's my mentor. I am his disciple. I hear the teaching and discern it in my mind, which is the mind of Myoho-Renge-Kyo. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.